Let us prove the proposition. Let S be a linearly independent subset of a finite dimensional vector space. Then S can be enlarged to a basis of V. Suppose the dimension of V is n, and S is a subset which has less than n elements, and S is linearly independent. So if a linear span of S is not equal to V, then there is a vector V which is outside the linear span. Now you look at the set S uh, and join V to S, I get a superset of S that contains V, and V was not in the linear span of S. We can prove that this S union V is a linearly independent subset of V. Now we will take the linear span of this new set, which consists of S and the vector V, and suppose its linear span is not the whole space, then outside the linear span of S union V, there will be one more vector, and then we can continue with this process. But since V is finite dimensional, we cannot keep on producing larger and larger linearly independent subsets of V at the stage at which the set has n linearly independent elements. Then its linear span will be the entire space, because if the linear span of n linearly independent elements is not the whole space, then I look at a vector which is in V outside the linear span of these n linearly independent vectors, and that will give me n plus 1 linearly independent sets. Okay, but that is not possible. Linear span of a set with n elements cannot have n plus 1 linearly independent elements. So therefore, any linearly independent subset of a finite dimensional vector space V can be enlarged to a basis of V. Okay, now let us look at the behavior of row space and column space in Gauss elimination process. So our purpose here is to detect the dimension of row space and the dimension of column space using Gauss elimination. But you remember how Gauss elimination is carried out. We multiply a given matrix on the left by an elementary matrix. Elementary matrices are invertible matrices, and we want to understand that in the Gauss elimination process, we get various intermediate matrices. How the row spaces of these intermediate matrices and the column spaces are tied with the row space and column space of the original matrix. Okay, the basic fact here is this proposition. Suppose I have a matrix A which is m by n, and E is a m by m invertible matrix. Then I can multiply A on the left by E, okay, and look at the row space of A and the row space of E times A. Then this proposition says that the row space of A and row space of E times A are identical, and therefore their dimensions are also equal. Okay, how it is going to be applied to Gauss elimination? In Gauss elimination, the row operation is carried out by pre-multiplying A with an elementary matrix. This E becomes an elementary matrix. We know that elementary matrix is invertible. Then this fact says that when I apply an elementary row operation, I convert the given matrix into a new matrix which is becoming closer to row echelon form. This new matrix A and the old matrix, the new matrix EA and the old matrix A will have the same row space, and therefore they have same dimensions. The row space of A and the row space of E times A have equal dimension. So when we apply this sequence of elementary row operations to convert A into A prime, and suppose A prime is in row echelon form, it says that the row space of A and the row space of echelon form are one and the same, and therefore the dimension are also equal. So dimension of row space can be detected by looking at the row space of row echelon form. Okay, that is the consequence of part A. Second part says that suppose I fix indices I1 less than I2 less than Ik, I1, I2, Ik between 1 and n, and the columns I1, I2, Ik of A are linearly independent if and only if the same columns of E times A are also linearly independent. Okay, so in particular, the column space of A and column space of E times A are having equal dimension. Okay, so let me paraphrase this. So we start with the matrix A by a sequence of elementary row operations. I convert A into A prime, which is in row echelon form. I mark the columns of A which are linearly independent and look at the same columns in the rows in the row echelon form. This part 2 says that this if certain columns of A are linearly independent, they will continue to be linearly independent when we apply elementary row operations, and therefore the dimension of column space of row echelon form of A and the dimension of column space of A are one and the same. So therefore, this proposition says that dimension of row space and dimension of column space can be detected from the same dimensions of the row echelon form. Row echelon form is far easier to understand. Okay, so let's prove this fact. Okay, so we want to show that row space of A is contained in row space of EA and row space of EA is contained in row space of A. Let's first prove this inclusion, that the row space of EA is contained in row space of A. Okay. Now, every row of EA is a linear combination of rows of A. Okay. We have seen that if I take AX, okay, A times B, where B is a matrix, then the columns of A times B are obtained as A times first column of B, A times the second column of B, etc., etc. Similarly, rows of EA are linear combination of rows of A, and so the row space of A, which is the linear span of row vectors of A, is equal to row space of E inverse EA, but row space of EA is contained in row space of A, and therefore row space of E inverse EA is contained in row space of EA. Okay. So we have proved both the inclusions, and that says that the row space of A and row space of EA, where E is a invertible matrix, they are one and the same. Okay. Now let's prove that if I1, I2, Ik columns of A are linearly independent, then the same columns of EA are also linearly independent, and vice versa. Okay. So look at the I1 column of EA, I2 column of EA, and Ik column of EA, and suppose there is a linear combination of them is equal to 0. Now this equation is true if and only if the second equation, where I push alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha k inside E times alpha 1 AI1, alpha 2 AI2, alpha k Eik equal to 0. Now E is invertible matrix, so I can multiply by its inverse and then get that alpha 1 AI1 plus alpha 2 AI2 plus alpha k Aik equal to 0. But AI1, AI2, Aik are linearly independent if and only if all these alphas are equal to 0. Okay, so therefore the implications are in both ways, and that says that if columns I1, I2, Ik of A are linearly independent if and only if the same columns of EA are also linearly